My name is Alicia Luba. I'm Vice President with the Trustees of Reservations, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you today on this lovely spring day as we turn our thoughts to the growing season. As most of you know, the Trustees is Massachusetts' oldest land trust. We were formed here in Boston over 126 years ago. We're a community of over 160,000 people who, like you, love the outdoors and who believe in celebrating and protecting open space for everyone forever. We are fortunate to steward 116 unique properties across the state, including 56 community gardens here in Boston. We know that land conservation and agriculture as practices have much to learn. We need to continually expand our strategies to build local grassroots leadership that encourages stability and expands food access. We are fortunate to have an incredibly strong and dedicated network of volunteers here in Boston who work as our garden coordinators. These volunteers are critical partners in managing a diverse network of community gardens across the city. I want to thank our partners who are here today for your time and unrelenting enthusiasm to bring our communities together and to welcome all from all different backgrounds into our gardens. Can I ask our community garden coordinators who are here today to stand for a round of applause? Thank you for all that you do. Together with your support, the trustees will continue to champion food access for all. In 2017, we launched a mobile food market to help address that food mirage that we heard about earlier. We serve 5 community and health centers in Winchester and Roxbury, serving over 1,500 people with over 3,000 pounds of food in our first year, food grown on our own farms. We are focused on making fresh food accessible by accepting SNAP, WIC, HIP, and other food credits. And we will continue to grow this program in 2018. We are also committed to educating around healthy food and eating. We run a series of free nutrition and cooking classes at the kitchen at the Boston Public Market downtown, and we welcome you all to join us there. And we are very fortunate to partner with Mayor Walsh and his team on food access and open space issues facing our city. And we are very fortunate to have you such a strong supporter of our community gardens across the city. And we're also lucky to have a mayor that recognizes the threat and impact climate change and sea level rise is having on our hometown. We are delighted to be partnering with Mayor Walsh to activate Boston's waterfront through the development of climate-resilient, green, open space. Our goal is to provide additional public access to Boston Harbor while introducing innovative flood protections. We are both thankful and inspired by Mayor Walsh's vision and commitment to our city. I also want to acknowledge Northeastern University for partnering with us again this year by hosting today's gathering. This sponsorship, along with the Highland Foundation, allows us to provide this event free of charge each year. A special thank you to John Tobin and his team, including Janice Cameron and Michael Fitzgerald, who welcome us each year and make this event run so smoothly. And a thank you to all of the volunteers, the many volunteers helping us today, and to the awesome trustees team that makes this happen. Vidya, Michelle, Peter, Jeremy, Jordan, and Annie. Please, if you see them, thank you. Come today. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. And with that, I'd like to introduce John Tobit, who's Northeastern's Vice President of Community and Government Affairs.
Thank you, Alicia. Welcome, everybody. Reverend Brown, having me follow you, if you're a baseball fan, if you're all baseball fans, this is like your number 9, 200 career hitter following David Ortiz, or in your case, Manny Machado. I see the Orioles. Another big round of applause for Reverend Brown. And I know you're a Baptist, Reverend. I'm a Catholic. If there's any way you could do the sermon at Holy Name East of Mass tomorrow at 9 o'clock, I'll get there at 8 o'clock. That'll be a double header. I just want to, on behalf of President Alwyn and the entire staff here at Northeastern University, I want to welcome you to the 43rd Annual Gardeners Gathering. I think over 20 years I've been here at Northeastern University, and we're very proud of that fact. You know, when I think about this and listen to the conversations taking place, you know, this gathering, community gardens all over the place, all over the city, and the topic of fresh food and food justice that's out there. I think oftentimes about my own dad. My dad was a construction worker and did backbreaking work, you know, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on Saturdays for overtime. But he was an avid gardener. He didn't look like it, but he was. And he would spend, you know, just days, his weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning on his hands and knees, growing strawberries, cucumbers, lettuce, planting trees, and everything just seemed to taste a lot better coming from the garden. Of course, we didn't realize that at the time as young kids, because he made us weed the garden during the summertime, and that was terrible. And then after he was done gardening, we'd have to go around in the station wagon and look at all the buildings he built, gas stations, office buildings, and we didn't realize that. We'd kind of make fun of him behind his back, but we realized he was proud of that work. He built that stuff along with his colleagues, and he built that garden, and he provided food, put up food on the table for all of us. And he got him into an interaction with people who gardened all over our community, all of our neighborhood. People he likely wouldn't have interactions with if he didn't do that, and brought all kinds of different people together, like I see in this audience today, and it's just incredible. So I just want to say thank you for all your work you do, your commitment to this very important issue, and we're proud to host you. And it's really my job today. I have an easy job. It's to introduce my friend and a friend of all of us. I'm not sure about the mayor's green thumb, but I know his heart beats every color of the city of Boston, and it's my pleasure to introduce our mayor, Mayor Marty Walsh.
If I talk loud, can you hear me? All right. Let me just say to a lot of things here. Thank you, John Tobin. Thank you, Northeastern University, for hosting. This is my 5th year in a row being here, and I'm so excited. And I'll be honest, the first year I came here, I didn't know what I was going to say, and I left. And every year since that time, I've grown a different appreciation for the work that a lot of you in this room do. So thank you. To Alicia and the trustees, thank you for being such a strong partner in the city of Boston on so many different fronts. The latest is climate resiliency, and we're going to be building parks along the ocean, along the Greenway. I mean, the last 3 months in Boston, we've had, I think, 7 high tides that have done damage in our city. And they've done damage in, obviously, the South Boston waterfront, but they've done damage in the Ponset Circle in Dorchester. They've done damage in East Boston. They've done damage in Charlestown. They've done damage in places that don't hit the paper, that people don't talk about. The news cameras aren't down there. And saying, oh, all these big $million-dollar buildings have been built, and how are we going to protect them? And meanwhile, other neighborhoods, that protection is actually our homes. So I want to thank the trustees for their involvement. I want to thank Sheila Dillon, who does an incredible job. I'll talk about Sheila in a little bit. Marty Martinez, our new Health and Human Service Chief, which I'll talk about him in a second. Reverend Brown, I came in a minute ago, and I heard him talking about, obviously, food. And I saw the hat, so I knew he wasn't from Boston. But the similarities between Boston and Baltimore are really incredible. I've had the chance to work with the last 3 mayors, actually, of Baltimore. One of the first people I met when I became the mayor was Martin O'Malley. He was the mayor of Baltimore, and he used data in his city to change a lot of different things. And if you walk into my office, I talk a lot about data. There's a data dashboard on there, and some of those ideas are from what Martin O'Malley had done. And then Stephanie Rawlings-Blake, who was the mayor right before the new mayor, and when we had a terrible storm, 2015, we had all the snow in Boston, 106 inches of snow. And the next year we bought these two big truck-mounted snow blowers. because instead of pushing snow, we're trying to take snow off the street. And that year, we didn't throw one flake of snow in the Atlantic Ocean. Even though the state said do it, we didn't. And we created a snow farm. And the reason why I bring that up to you is because when the last flake of snow melted, it was August, literally August, and there was 80,000 tons of trash under the snow we took off the street. And that trash would have been in Boston Harbor, and we didn't throw a flake in there. And the reason why I say that, the mayor of Baltimore at the time had a terrible snowstorm in 2016, and it crippled the city. And our public works department sent crews down to Baltimore, and they were using these truck-mounted snow blowers to take snow off the street of Baltimore. And one day, there was a car in the way, and one of our DPW workers knocked on the window to see if the car moved, and the window came down. It was the mayor of Baltimore. That's our connection. I want to thank the gardeners, the backyard gardeners, the urban farm gardeners. Thank you for having me today. I think I told this story before, but John talked about his dad gardening in the back. My backyard, it literally was like this big. We had a patch of dirt in there. My father put concrete on it. But in the backyard. But my mother and father grew up on farms in Ireland. And as kids, we would be sent to Ireland for the summer. And we'd go over and we'd stay at my mother's house. And they had a farm. And the eggs that we would have for breakfast were in the hen house in the back of the house. We'd go out in the morning, actually in the afternoon, and bring in the eggs and wash them off for the next morning. The milk that we drank when we were in Ireland, I don't know if anyone's drinking milk directly from the cow without being pasteurized. It's interesting. My grandmother would buy the milk at the shop, and we'd drink that, and then she'd try and pour the other milk in, and when you pour it in the glass, you can tell it's not the same milk that came out, isn't it? But that's what we experienced as kids. The cream from the milk went into a barrel. The barrel was under the sink with a cloth on it, and that barrel was used for butter. And my grandmother would make her own butter and make her own loaf of bread every day in the house. We'd go out on the farm, my grandfather, and the potatoes that we ate at night were in the back of the house. The carrots we ate at night were in the back of the house. The cabbage was in the back of the house. The onions were in the back of the house. All of that was there on the farm, and we had a chance, I had a chance, and I'm grateful for it, to have that opportunity as a young person, to be able to understand that's how they ate. They didn't go to shop. They didn't buy a 5-pound bag of potatoes and a bag of carrots and onions. They didn't do that. It was all there on the farm. And when we were there as kids, obviously my grandfather didn't have the 7 kids in the home to feed. And there was no talk of not having enough food at the table that particular moment. But my father and mother grew up in a different time. And they grew up in Ireland. My father was one of 13. When the potato was put on the plate, it meant a lot because they had to spread that a long way. And they didn't have the money and the resources to do what we did. We waste more food here in America and in Boston than they did back in the day. It's changed today back there. Today I go back, my cousins who live in the same house go to the shop. They buy everything. They don't grow it. So urban farming is changing around the world. And that knack of self-sustainability is not there anymore, or that knack of fresh food. My grandfather, by the way, my mother's father lived to 91. My grandmother lived to 90. So it shows that there's something behind the environment they grew up in and what they lived. So I say that story because John Tobin tried to one-up me, so I want to one-up him. But I also wanted to say to you that not that as a mayor, obviously I know the importance of what you're doing here, but also growing up, seeing it as a kid firsthand. And I say that because there's so many young people in this room today. I'm thrilled to see the young people. And you might be here because your mother or father or grandmother or grandfather took you here and you're like, oh, I want to get out of here. But understand the importance of what's happening. Your generation is actually going to make a bigger difference than the generation that's in this room, including myself. Your generation is going to go back to the old generation of making sure that people are taken care of. So I thank you for being here today. I also want to thank the amazing work of all of you in this room, and I truly mean that. The amazing work of all the different gardeners in the community here. You bring beauty to our city. When there's a community garden in the neighborhood and you see, you know, a house, an empty lot, and that lot's turned into a garden, you can see the impacts of the neighborhood. And to John's point, it's as important, in my opinion, in bringing neighbors together to work together collectively that might not have ever talked to each other. And what happens off of those conversations are not just about gardening, but social justice. And about the issues that we're dealing with today in society, whether it's the violence that we're trying to work on, or the racial equity that we're working on, or the income inequality that we're working on. All of those issues happen either at the coffee shop on the corner, or they happen in the garden in your neighborhood. I want to thank you for that, because you make a difference in our city, quite honestly, by doing that work. Having access to healthy food is really important, and I know Reverend Brown was talking about access to healthy food, and the gentleman you were talking about we need to do more. You know, what we're having now in Boston is a lot more farmer markets year-round. And I remember when Common Square opened the first farmers market. And I remember when they did, I was a state rep at the time, and people were coming out to buy the produce from the farmers that were coming in from Western Massachusetts to come into Dorchester and to Common Square. That farmers market now is year-round. And that farmers market is a source of food for a lot of people. So again, it's a lot of the work of a lot of you, the pioneers in this room, that started that access to fresh, healthy food. It's so important for us that we continue to move forward. This summer, we're going to open Windermere Community Gardens, which is going to improve food access up in the corner. When you think of Windermere Street, and I know it well because I grew up right around the corner, people would say, oh, that's a good street, and every now and then there's concerns and troubles around that street. But now that street is going to be the source of healthy food with that garden that's going to come out of there. So it's about changing the dialogue of the conversation in that neighborhood. So we're not talking about the kids hanging on the corner and the kids causing problems. We're talking about the garden that's actually growing food for people in the neighborhood. And those are the more conversations that we have to do to continue to move forward. So if you're here from Windermere Garden, thank you for your great work. The relationship between the trustees and so many different departments in our city, but in particular the Department of Neighborhood Development, Sheila Dillonshaw. Identifying spots. I know that there is a criticism that we might not be going fast enough. And sometimes we're not going fast enough because there's challenges with the land. The land that we have is contaminated. The land that we have sometimes is dirty. The land that we have has some issues that we have to deal with. But the important thing for me is that we're moving forward. Maybe not fast enough, but we're moving forward. We're going to continue to move forward so that we can get those lots clean and get those lots in the hands of the community. Because what I said earlier about the conversations that happen in those communities, it's about serving food, but it's also about bringing neighbors together and having people talk to each other about what's happening. So I think that that's important. Bringing our city agencies, our nonprofits, our local gardening community together. We're going to continue to find this vacant land. We're going to continue to try and do our best to turn this land around. One of the challenges that we have with our vacant land, quite honestly, is the need for housing too. We've put out, I think, 1,000 pieces of land in the city to build more housing. We've built housing. We're seeing what's happening in the city. There's a story, I think, coming on the Globe tomorrow or next day. 3 years ago, we put a housing plan in place. And I'll tie it all in a minute. And we said we're going to build 53,000 units of new housing by the year 2030. We have 26,000 units of housing. 17,000 are built, 9 are under construction. About 30%, I believe, are low, moderate income housing. Some middle-class housing. I'll give you a number. Which people are in between nothing and $100,000. We have to find places for people to live in Boston. Because what happens is the people who earn $100,000, if they get pushed out of our city, then our city becomes completely unequal. And we don't have an opportunity to keep people in our city. So what we're trying to do is build more housing. So there's competition. So the first couple of years we did the housing thing, we saw a reduction in rents 4% across the board. And we were excited because we saw stabilization in the market. And this year now we're seeing another trend the other way. We're seeing rents go back up again. And we're like, okay, we're building all this housing, we're trying to do all this we can, and what's happening, housing prices are going through the roof. If we don't continue to build housing, we have to make sure we continue to do things that are important for our neighborhood. So when I think about food and I think about housing, I think about the same exact person that we have to do this for. People that don't have the means to buy their own home, but they want to live in a community. And the same thing, those same people don't have access to, I heard the Reverend talk about this, they don't have access to healthy food. So it's important for us as we continue to do this, we think about this as a whole system, not just as one system. So we're going to continue to move forward. The city of Boston is also committed to making sure gardeners get their start with healthy soil. The city, we're a proud contractor of City Soil and Mattapan. That's delivering healthy compost to Boston's gardeners. We're working on a composting program as well in the city, so we do more with composting. When I ran for mayor in 2013, we didn't compost. In 2014, we started a program in Jamaica Plain. Some cities, Cambridge is going full composting. We have to think about how do we go full composting. Not just recycling, but composting. So that's important for us to do, make sure that we can do that. We're making a $28 million investment in Franklin Park this year. Money from the sale of Winthrop Square Garage. In that park, the community is going to design the park, but what we have to think about, is there an opportunity for us to really create a composting center inside Franklin Park so that we can look at doing it. That's going to have to be driven from you to push us, to push me in the Parks Department to say we need to do this because it's your park. And we're also making other investments. That's the Public Works is going to be working with us on that. Alicia talked a little bit about climate leadership. I'm not going to go too much into the climate. We know the issues. We know what they are. Our climate-ready leaders are here. I want to thank everyone in this room who's been part of sitting down with the city on our new Boston program. I want to thank the people in the city who might just be pushing us, voices pushing us. I want to thank you for that. Before I start talking, I want to just say a couple things. Make sure that we're seeking nominations for the Mayor's Green Innovate Boston Awards. Pastor, this is a program that we started with the Green Ribbon Commission, where we're going after large companies, businesses, universities, hospitals to use renewable energy and to change their way they do things. We're working now in communities as well. The community people, partners have gotten it first. We're trying to push these large institutions, so we're using the Green Innovate Awards. They're right in the City Hall on the 5th floor, so we've had our biggest hospitals get awards. We've gotten, I think Northeastern's received an award, Mass General's received an award, Brigham and Women's received an award. These are all big hospitals that use a lot of energy, so we're trying to continue to push them to make a big difference. So if you need information on that, go to greeninnovateboston.org. And then one of the best events that we have in the city is our Mayor's Gardening Contest. Again this year, we have like 10 different categories. These are people that have nice yards like John Tobin did. People that have little backyards like my father had, patch of grass around the corner. But it's garden boxes, all that, so please get involved in that. And you go to boston.gov for that. And again, lastly, I just want to thank 3 groups of people. I want to thank the trustees for what you do in our city and our Commonwealth. I want to thank Northeastern for allowing us to be here today. I want to thank the special guests that came to our city to talk about what's happening around the country, because best ideas happen when we share ideas, when like-minded people and like-minded cities share their ideas, and we can take ideas from Baltimore and they can take ideas from us. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of you for being here today. Truly, the faces I'm looking at are the same faces that are here every year. Thank you, the young people, and to all the winners today. Congratulations on being recognized for outstanding accomplishments in this special area. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mayor Walsh, and thank you again, Pastor Brown. It's time to unveil and honor the winners of the Community Garden Awards. So, the Rookie Garden of the Year. This usually does not go to a school garden. This is unusual, but as you'll hear, this school garden is definitely a community effort. So today we're honoring the Curtis Giles Elementary School Gator Garden in East Boston. I'll tell you a little bit about them. You guys can come on down.
The Gator Garden started at the end of 2016 when Curtis Giles' parents, Judy and Ben, decided to apply for a Love Your Block grant, hoping to beautify an overgrown area at the school and bring lessons from the classroom outdoors. The grant was approved at the end of 2016 and planning began. With the help of Eastie Farm, the final plan was developed to clear out all the shrubs and create gardening spaces for each classroom. The work started with 6 parents, 1 BPS administrator, thank you Tommy Walsh, 4 shovels, 23 shrubs, and buried in rock-hard soil. The group managed to clear the shrubs through a lot of rain with 8 parents, 6 shovels, a yard of gravel, and 5 yards of fresh soil delivered to the schoolyard and spread 1 bucket at a time in 35-degree weather.
At the end of April, the garden celebrated the Love Your Block event with dozens of parents, community members, volunteers, teachers, and students coming out to build a retaining wall, to level the new plots, plant new barrels with colorful flowers, touch up paint, and clean up the entire area around the garden and school. It was truly a beautiful community building event. The group would like to thank Eastie Farm, Boston Cares, and I think I'm going to let you mention some of the other parents or teachers that you'd like to give a quick thank you to.
Sure.
Don't mind. just the key players.
Hi everybody. Not often you get to share the mic with Mayor and some amazing people. This speech absolutely inspiring. Thank you so much to the parents who are here. There's so many who are not. Netta and Antonio Brunel. There were Boston Cares gave us a huge helping hand. This is Beatrice Contreras. She's the family engagement coordinator at the Curtis Guild, and she wears about 42 hats. None of the Orioles, so I'm sorry. Tiffany and Nick Free, who are parents, also Boston teachers. My beautiful wife, who's somewhere back there. We're trying to find a granola bar. Oh, hi. My name is Carlos Brown. I'm one of the parent council co-chairs. Yes, my love, you're going to get a granola bar. We understand. 2 hours is not bad, right? They made it 2 hours. We're pretty good. There were literally dozens of parents who helped in every single way. They would make granola bars in their garden. Can you do that for next year, please? That'd be great. Honestly, there's so many people. Thank you guys so much. This is Rookie of the Year, or Rookie Garden is so appropriate for what our garden was. We learned every step of the way in all the kinds of wrong ways. 6 people, 4 shovels, a few tons of rocks and dirt. Not well coordinated, but we did our best. So thank you to the support from Principal McCarthy, Tommy Walsh who showed up too with assistant to the superintendent. There was a lot of people. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Our next award is the MVG, the Most Valuable Gardener, which is awarded to Lolita B. Parker Jr. As caretaker of Bessie Barnes and United Neighbors of Lower Roxbury Community Gardens, Lolita continues the tradition of her predecessor and neighborhood stalwarts, Bobby and Nataka Creighton, organizing through gardening. Lolita is inspired by the political forethought of Mel King, Royal Bowling Jr., James Siegel, Bill Owens, and Barney Frank's 1974 Act, establishing an office of garden allotment, allowing residents of the Commonwealth to garden on vacant public land. As a widely published photographer, oral historian, and artist, Lolita creates in the broadest sense of the word, co-creating community, public art installations, historical archives, garden beds, and the personal political imagery. In 2017, Lolita produced History in the Garden, 110 years of community photographers' look at Lower Roxbury. The year-long exhibit of 24 4x8 photo murals installed on a chain-link fence surrounding the UNLR garden gave passerbys an opportunity to learn about or remember the time when Lower Roxbury was Boston's epicenter of African-American Caribbean thought, business ownership, and activism. Originally from the Altadena, California, Lolita may be the only person you've ever heard of that moved from LA to Boston for the weather.
I have to first of all thank Bobby and Nataka Creighton, who many of you know, who used to organize and run these gardens before me. And then also the three men in my garden, who there are all about 35 to 40, born by Kim. He's a third generation Roxburyite. His father was Dan Richardson. Claude Booker, and my son London Parker McWhorter, because I just point and I say here, there, okay, do that, push this, and you know, we really do need younger backs in the garden. And anyway, just thank you very much. It's a surprise. It was really a surprise, but I'm just committed to following in the footsteps of those elders who put this land aside at the United Neighbors of Lower Roxbury Community Garden over 50 years ago. And so, you know, it's been on some hard times, but we're going to pick it up and really turn it out this summer. So, thank you very much.
Oh, and I didn't thank Barry. He drives me everywhere.
Thank you, Lolita. So last but definitely not least, we have our Hall of Fame garden, which is Worcester Community Garden in the South End. The Worcester Community Garden is, oh yeah, clap. Go. The Worcester Community Garden is the South End's second largest community garden and has been cultivated for more than 35 years. The garden was founded in approximately 1980 as a joint project of residents, the Claremont Neighborhood Association, and the Boston Urban Gardeners on land originally occupied by carriage houses and stables. The garden has over 130 plots and is managed by dedicated volunteers who receive support on operations, capital improvements, and programming from the trustees. Several current gardeners have been with the garden since the founding and continue to provide terrific guidance and assistance to new members. Gardeners nurture a mix of flowers and vegetables, including West Indian crops like callaloo and okra. Worcester gardeners truly feel that their garden is a neighborhood gem, providing a shared space for so many people of different backgrounds, joined only by proximity and a love of gardening, to come together and deepen their sense of community and belonging. And where's Ed and everybody? You guys coming down?